Hey there, YouTube. Welcome. First deck profile. I'm going to be doing a Geargiakuri deck profile that I think with a little bit of improvement. I'm missing a couple cards, but I think that this deck could do really well in a tournament setting. So without further ado, I'm not going to try and go into background or anything. Without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with the main deck here, and I hope that this is going to work. So let's see. Let's start with the monsters. And we'll do the Geargiakuri engine. Oh, my cards are out of order. Anyway, here, let's go. 2, Geargiakuri Arsenal. He's pretty important. He does a lot of deck thinning. I don't like to run 3 because basically it's I don't want to draw into more than 1 at a time. And I find 2 is a pretty solid number. So there's him. 3, Geargiakuri armor, standard Geargiakuri engine, 3 Geargiakuri armor. The reason this guy is so good, for those of you who don't know, he's got a really big 1900 body, 1900 defense. So really good against things like heroes who, Alis is 1900, Ryo's 1900. A lot of really key monsters, 1900. You guys know the deal, 1900 is a big number. So he opens up a lot of plays and loops and stuff. Let me go find, here it is, yeah. 3, Geargiakuri Excel. He's the one who special summons himself from the hand, allowing for a lot of really, really easy XYZ plays into Geargiakuri X or whatever else you want to run. You could even try and use him for synchros, like this deck likes to do. That's usually kind of a waste of Excel, because going into Geargiakuri X is better most of the time, but it's a possible play you can do. That's the Geargiakuri engine. I am going to hopefully add and test running 1 Geargiano. He's level 3, and you tribute him to special summon a level 4 machine or Geargiakuri. I don't remember which. I think it's machine. A level 4 or lower machine. Or is it just level 4? Anyways, from your grave. And the reason that's important is because when Geargiakuri X gets destroyed, you can special summon a level 3 or lower Geargiakuri monster from your grave. And since you can't special summon the you can't special summon any of these guys because they're all level 4, Geargiano could help get them back. So I want to test that. I haven't tested it yet, but it's in my plan. Now onto the Karakuri half of the build. I know a lot of people run very small amounts of Karakuri. I really like running a pretty big Karakuri engine. 3 Ninishi, because of all the extra normal summons. It's not as weak to max C. This deck can get pretty weak to max C though. You don't want to give your opponent all of their cards at once, because you can go crazy. Almost, I don't want to say as bad as Sam's, but swarming can be pretty heavy in this deck, and Ninishi certainly helps with that. 3 quick. I like 3 quick because 1700 is just enough to make this worthwhile. If it were any lower, I really don't think I would run it. But it gets over a lot of smaller cards, like things in windups. If they ever leave anything out, which I know you guys know it doesn't happen often, but like a lot of the smaller cards, this thing gets over, and you can special summon 1 Karakuri monster out of your graveyard, level 4 or lower. So it really helps if you want to special summon Ninishi and you haven't done your second normal yet from Ninishi in the first place. Like what I like to do is I like to go Ninishi into quick, and if I can, go straight into battle phase and attack their 1 monster with quick, or attack something. You guys know what I mean. Get the special summon, and then go into a big play in main phase 2. Next. Now this is something that's kind of questionable, but as of right now I like it. 3 Merchant. Now I've been considering pretty heavily changing it to 2. But I really like 3 because it's pretty hard to have him dead in the hand, especially if you just use him in main phase 2 and he's your only monster, so you don't have to attack. You can use him for funny things, get over stray Raikos, and it's not terrible to have him out early. But you can go Ninishi into Merchant into Beast or into Katastor if you're against heroes or Sams. He helps with keeping advantage in your hand. Next is 2 Watchdogs. Now this deck is getting kind of monster heavy, as you may notice. Lots of those cards. 2 Watchdog is so I can always have at least one in the deck to special summon with Beret or Beredo. Because if I draw into my 1, then it gets kind of hard to get him out. But even beyond that, he's kind of a good set because 1800 is not a lot to, or it's nothing really to sneeze at. And if he happens to live through the first attack, and then they want to try and get over him, he has changes into attack position, and when he's in attack, he doesn't die. So it's very, very, very convenient, and you can stall for a couple of turns like that. And I think he's actually a pretty good card, especially since Inzectors aren't around anymore. Honestly, this deck was bad when Inzectors were around. That's the problem. Now that they're not so prevalent, I know they still exist, but they're not so prevalent. One strategist, Nishipachi, and I like him so I can get over things like, oh crap, they have a Leviair, I need to get rid of that, or not Leviair, Leviathan Dragon, or something with really low defense, or like if there's a Grapha out and I only have my Beret on the field, like if I can go into Beret and then special summon Strategist to change him into defense so I can actually get over him if I don't want to use Beret's effect by itself, or if I have a Beredo out and they have their gates up and Grapha's out, normally he couldn't get over it, but if I special summon Strategist, then he gets into defense and then Beret can get over Grapha. Basically, he just helps with getting rid of a lot of individual threats, and I think he's really useful for that. Plus, it doesn't hurt that he's a tuner, because I run quite a few non-tuner materials in this deck, so I don't know, he's pretty convenient. One Hypa, basically for heroes, and Sam's too, I guess, but not so much Sam's. He gets over stuff, and I use him if I don't want to use my quick. You can get a pretty nice little draw boost from him. There's another play that you can do. I'm not going to try and explain all the character he plays because there are just so many. And last I run one Veiler. I main one Veiler. I'm thinking about siding another one, but in this format where a lot of it is leaning to be more trap heavy, just because Mirror Forces at 2, Magic Cylinders, all the shenanigans, right? I find that a lot of people are relying on their back row a little bit more than they are their effects. Like, you don't see Inzectors. Honestly, I used to main 2 Veiler, side 1 in every deck because of Inzectors and things like Wind-Ups and Rabbit, although it didn't really help too much with Rabbit. Yeah, so right now I'm only maining 1 Veiler, and I'm not even siding a second one, but we'll get into the side later. Now my spells, here's the deal, is it's not 100% where I want it to be, just because there's cards that don't exist yet. One limiter removal, this is a card that I don't necessarily want in this deck, but it certainly fits the theme, because the way that this deck works is very Swarm style, very Swarm OTK, and this definitely makes it a lot easier. You get out 2 Beret, you get out 1 Beredo and a Beret, and limiter removal, and if they don't have anything, that's game. And it's very easy to get out things with 2,000 plus in this deck. So very quick, very easy game card. Don't rely on it. I don't, but I don't know. It's not actually in my original design, but it's not a bad card. The other card that's not in my original design is Desynchro. Now Desynchro is for when Beret lives a turn, and then it's my main again. I get out Ninishi again, and I don't have to have him in my hand, and then I can normal twice, sync again, special summon again. So I go from having 1 Beret out to, at the end of the play, a Beret, another sync, and 2 other monsters from those syncs that I've resynced from Desynchro. Like I'll go Beret's out, desync for Ninishi and Hypa, normal 2 from Ninishi's effect, and then I can sync twice, hopefully if I get the right cards. And then syncing twice with the Geargiakuri monsters will let you special summon another one, so you can sync again right after that. For like, you could possibly wind up with a field of Beret, Beredo, Stardust, just from 1 Desynchro and 1 Beret that lives a turn. So it's a very powerful card, and I'll get into why these aren't in my main build after I finish the rest of the spells. 2 Lance, to get over annoying things, to protect from Torrentials, to protect from Mirror Force. This is a very trap-heavy format. I'm almost thinking of running 3, but I don't want them to just be sitting around in my hand. You guys know that Lance is usually good at 2. That's just kind of a tested number for Lance in most decks. Book of Moon, shenanigans, almost a staple. Pot of Avarice is Pot of Avarice. This deck fills up its grave so quickly, it's absurd. And the +1 that you get from it's pretty nice. 2 MST because back row, and back row is annoying. when you're using this deck. Honestly, you see 2 or 3 set cards from your opponent, and you're kind of terrified to do anything with this deck. 1 cash. I only run 1 because honestly, my hands normally get very, very, very full of monsters very, very quickly with all the searching from Merchant, from Geargiakuri X, from all the specials with the synchros. I always have monsters, and I don't need them as often as a lot of Karakuri decks would need, really. Running 3 cash like a lot of decks do would really only slow me down, which sounds weird to a lot of veteran Karakuri players, but maybe I'll consider taking it up to 2 later, but I don't really know if I have the room for it right now. Dark Hole, don't have to really... Actually, you know what? I want to talk about Dark Hole in a second. Monster Reborn, don't have to explain it. Heavy Storm, don't have to explain it. Dark Hole, I don't really like it. I'll give you a second to take that in. Now listen, Black Rose Dragon, who's in my extra deck, I'll get into that later too, Black Rose Dragon is always live. And I always have a field nuke basically ready because Ninishi and a 4-star is a very simple play to make. I have almost no effort to put into that. And I also main a Torrential, which again, I'll get into later. I side another Torrential, I think. Anyways, basically I don't really like nuking the field too much. And if I ever need to, it's very easy to do without using Dark Hole. I don't know. I feel like it could be actually taken out for a better option for this deck, even though Dark Hole is pretty crazy by itself. Now, these 2 in my build that I want, I have a build on Dueling Network. I have those as Iron Calls. Iron Call is basically a themed Monster Reborn for machines, and it's so great. I mean, literally, it's just a monster special summon from your grave if you control a machine, which, again, is super easy. Yeah, I don't really know how much more I need to go into it. It makes me wish you could have more than 5 monster zones. Yeah. But these cards aren't bad. Desynchro actually is a pretty good replacement for now, just because it helps you, plus pretty hard. Those are my spells. Traps, I run a very low trap count, as you've seen by my huge monster count. 1 D Prison. This is actually only in here because I don't have... what am I missing? Oh, a Geargiakuri right now. This is my temporary sort of Geargiakuri replacement because I don't want to throw in another monster that's not Geargiakuri, basically. And D Prison is usually pretty helpful, especially in this format. The actual traps that I main: 1 Torrential for emergencies, 2 Compulse because I freaking love Compulse. It hurts so many of the decks this meta. Honestly, like, you can watch a wind-up player think that they're about to go off and then suddenly Compulse and their plays are dead and their hand is almost... Oh god, it's so great. 1 Solemn, 1 Judgment. I don't run 2... 1 Solemn, 1 Judgment. 1 Warning, 1 Judgment. I don't run 2 Warning because it makes late game difficult. Like, one time I opened up, I actually wound up losing this game that I'm going to talk about. I opened up Warning, Warning, Judgment, MST, and Bottomless. Worst hand ever. Oh my god. Yeah. So I just think that 2 Warning makes the late game too difficult. You're already kind of vulnerable to OTK style decks. I don't run Agors, I don't run Fader, I don't run Trag. I don't think that they're necessary for this deck because it keeps enough field presence to make that unnecessary, basically. Even though I run a low trap count, my field presence is always too high for that. Now, you're wondering to yourself, he's doing Geargiakuris, he needs the Geargiaxes. Well, you're right, I need them. I don't have them. I'm proxying them. They're very expensive, and I hope to be able to get my hands on them soon. But for now, here's the extra deck. Catastor for Sams and Heroes. Obviously, he's pretty dead against Dark Worlds, but I have other things for Dark Worlds. 1 Black Rose Dragon for the nukes. 2 Beret and 2 Barredo. Just because I don't need 3 of these. I don't actually even have the room. I have a very, very tight extra deck. A Barkion and a Beast. Barkion doesn't get made very often, but I'm afraid to take him out because I'm going to need him one day, and I just know it, especially in this format. Beast is good. Beast is very easy first turn play, even though it's not always the best first turn play. Maybe game 1 it's a bad first turn play, but I don't know. It happens often enough. Landoys, I have a lot of spells in this deck. I could toss a limiter removal if I really, really need to. I can toss a Desynchro. I can toss a Lance. Landoys, again, he's another one of those things like I'm gonna wish I hadn't taken him out if I do. One Scrap Dragon for game pushes. His effect is pretty nice. I don't really need to explain Scrap Dragon or Stardust. Stardust is Stardust. And there's the two proxied Gigant X's. For those of you who don't know the effect, 2 level 4 machines, detach 1 material, and get a search for a level 4 machine or from your deck or grave. A lot of players forget that. Your grave too, so it's not really ever dead. You can run out of targets in this deck. Honestly, you can run out of searches. I had games where my entire main deck, by turn like 5 or 6, was just spells and traps. It gets ridiculous how much horsepower this deck has. Now this is supposed to be a Roach. I don't have the money for a Roach. And this is supposed to be Thought Ruler Archfiend. I want one of those. I do have the money for that. I just haven't got my hands on one yet. Thought Ruler Archfiend. Somebody hand me one. Yeah. And that is the main deck. Now the side deck, this is almost nothing like what I want the side deck to look like. I keep on having to rearrange this as I keep testing this deck. The 2 Veilers are in there just because I don't have any of the cards I actually want. 3 Fiendish is the same thing. These were leftovers from my first build, which, you know, when I started looking into characters, everyone said, oh, they're so control based. This is a swarm deck. I don't need these Fiendish chains. Maybe I will wind up siding 1 in the end, but I don't really think I need them. 1 Torrential, gosh, I need to get into the actual things that I do have. It's like nothing. I have my 2 Bottomless. Normally I side the D Prison that's in the main right now. I have my 3 Shadow Imprisoning, which might be taken down to 2 Shadow Imprisoning. I'm just going to like tell you guys my side deck because I don't have any of the cards for it right now. I want... Gosh, I had half these cards too. Some of them went missing. 2 Electric Virus for the mirror match and against dragons. Electric Virus is actually pretty good. Steal a Sheehan, not a Sheehan, that's a puppet plant. You know, steal a Gigant X, get your own search. Steal, I don't know. You steal things. How is that, right? It's a game-winning card almost sometimes. 1 Max C. I don't really have the money for that right now. I have 2 Puppet Plant. Some of these cards are on the way in the mail. 2 Puppet Plant for Heroes, Sam's, Gravekeeper's Prophecies. Puppet Plant's actually a very, very good card. I really like it. I want 2 Royal Decree. I need 2 Royal Decree. Oh, and Imperial Iron Wall for when people start siding in System Down and Macrocosmos. System Down would suck. That would actually be really bad because then our grave would be empty, our quick plays would be dead, our Kuik, not quick play spells, Kuik would be dead or near useless. Yeah, Imperial Iron Wall is going to help with that. And I think that actually covers the rest of it. So, yeah, that's the deck. I think it's, through my testing, it's been very, very consistent. I actually wind up just by turn 2 or 3 getting a perfect hand because of all the searching I do. And I churn out big, giant monsters every turn, and it's awesome. I'll have you know I built this deck before they topped Toronto. Yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. I know this is going on for a really long time, and most of you aren't going to watch a 20-minute deck profile, but I felt like it was worth talking about. I could have gone on a lot longer, I'll put it that way, detailing some of the plays and the reasons that I have how many of what card. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you had a great day. See ya.